It's okay, Yana. This is Dowesi Tengu, who was just recovering from injuries she sustained falling into the ditch created by gully erosion in her neighborhood along the Ahmadu Bello Way, popularly known as Sa'u Danladi in Boko, local government area of Benue State, north-central Nigeria. She was indeed very lucky, having survived the fall, as several others we learned had in the past not survived the deadly experience.
How much here? Okay. So you're the be in Roman Hayuti? 85.
One here, but it's over 10 years. One day, when I'm only now, yes, Simba going higher, Simba Chow, our yellow silk was in the corner, Sanchez, and Mapitaya. Now, Goma to NEWMAP, Mava, so Quanisha, is stranded there.
The gully erosion site here is older than 22-year-old Dowesi Tengu. And we are told for this long, the Benue State government has done nothing to put the ravaging disaster in check, besides what the residents say are visits by government officials to snap pictures of the affected areas. In fact, our team was initially mistaken to be on one of such Photoshop visits, and the youth told us they were ready to chase us away. As at the time we visited the sections of the erosion-ravaged communities along the Ahmadu Bello Way, it was very clear that it is a matter of time for all the houses to cave in. Here we see what has been the only attempt by the government at the local council level to hold up the culvert of a section of the Ahmadu Bello Way that has remained under threat of being cut off.
State government, young me over here.
Go for 2 months, yes, with the Shahan, but young Macon over Hanya. For 2 months, I'm working on what I do this banana park. You don't know which station but the little one, I took only a chairman, local government, Hanzilla. Come out the fee, one chicken, banana craton, the guy who told Stasica Canada.
For whatever reason, Benue State is one of the 17 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, that have not signed up to the 8-year time-bound intervention program of the World Bank, talking of the Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project, NEWMAP. The project, which started in 2012 with implementation effectively taking off in 2014, was supposed to be the next big thing for the country after the 3 planting campaigns of the 1930s and the Ecological Fund of 1981 that are the 2 known national responses by Nigeria to what has become the gully erosion crisis across the Federation. This is Straight Talk. Welcome to the program. I am TYAV. Southeast Nigeria is rightly described as the epicenter of gully erosion in the country. We are talking of the 5 states of ABIA, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Imo states. Anambra State is, however, the worst affected. There are reportedly over 167 gully erosion sites scattered across the 21 local government areas of the state.
We have so many of them. We have over 1,000, gully erosion sites. We need to address them or completely ravage the state. Because the problem with erosion is funding. They are not small issues, they're not small contracts. So it's really hard on the state to come up with those funds.
Peter Obi, during his regime, did some good work. There are some sites I visited there that were so good, very well done. But like everything in Nigeria, just as you maintain the house you're living, you also have to maintain gully control structures. Because when you finish construction, that thing does not last forever. And remember that what rain is also falling on it. And one way or the other, once there's a small scratch, it will develop from there. So you need to keep track of it. Monitor it just as you're monitoring your house.
The country's most dangerous gully erosion site is the one in the Agulu, Naka, Oko communities of Anambra State, where the control project of the site was only approved in early 2017. As at November 2012, the erosion site was 12 meters deep and 1.5 kilometers long, with the gully long grown wider and deeper in the last 5 years and counting. This is the destruction of over 42 years caused by gully erosion here in AMUZUKWU community in UMUAHIA North local government area of ABIA State. This particular gully erosion site did not get the attention of the government until about 3 years ago with the intervention of the World Bank. And in those 3 years, we have seen very little that has been done. About 42 years ago was when then military head of state, General Olusegun Obasanjo, visited the AMUZUKWU gully erosion site. Members of the community had high hopes that the visit of the country's #1 citizen at the time will see help coming their way. But that, unfortunately, was not to be, even after Obasanjo returns to office as the country's leader for another 8 years in 1999. And who will not have been hopeful when, in 1976, AMUZUKWU was in the old Imo State and kilometers away from Owerri, that was the state capital. But the country's leader at the time, General Obasanjo, made it a part of his schedule to visit the area when he was in the state. Today, the AMUZUKWU community is almost in the heart of a state capital, talking of UMUAHIA, which has been the capital city of Abia State since 1991. But the story of the residents living amidst threat to their lives and property has not changed. For how long have you lived in this community?
I was born here.
How old are you?
I'm around 78 now.
So what can you tell us about this erosion site?
This erosion started when we were small. But by then, it wasn't big like this. Unfortunately, when the rain is starting small, the erosion started. Right from, that is our old market. We call it Ahuriete. That was the first place the thing started. Small. All this area become a big valley. We don't know what to do. We have been trying our best to see that we cover it off, but it is the thing
Has not worked.
There's no work.
The project site has been here during my councillorship period. I introduced our then president, Olusegun Obasanjo. He came here. He was the first president that inspected this area. But from this, it wasn't like this, quite all right. But it was big. It has been big even from our own bedtime.
The thing was here because we have our stream here. And the stream was there. We were fetching water from there. And a lot of people are coming down. I can say that this is just the main stream that is serving NEWMAP people here as at then, before the invention of the borehole here and there. So was a little gully somehow when the thing was developing.
What looks like answered prayers for the AMUZUKWU community only came 37 years later, in 2013, with the intervention program of the World Bank known as the Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project, NEWMAP. The failure of authorities at all levels in Nigeria to address the gully erosion crisis and other environmental challenges using the monthly ecological fund that has continuously been disbursed to the states and local governments since 1981 led to a $500 million intervention by the World Bank in some states of the Federation, including ABIA State. The 19 states partnering with the World Bank on NEWMAP are ABIA, Anambra, Akwa Ibom, Borno, Cross River, Delta, Ebonyi, Edo, Enugu, and Gombe. The others are Imo, Kano, Katsina, Kogi, Nasarawa, Niger, Oyo, Plateau, and Sokoto states.
The World Bank is a partner of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in the field of soil erosion containment and watershed management through a program called NEWMAP, the Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project.
NEWMAP is a new concept. It's an intervention through the World Bank with a facility of about $500 million. And these involve the state governments, the federal governments intervening, and this approach now addresses the issue of gully erosion holistically.
What's the role of the state governments in this NEWMAP project?
I'm not a state governor, so...
I believe there is a framework on what the states are expected to do. Yes.
And the issue is that you collaborate actively. You're going into somebody's territory. Okay. There is no federal Nigeria. The state governors have a big role to play. They identify the sites. They know they are closer to the people, and they know where they have most problems. So they are the people who will identify the site, and once it passes the test of the World Bank standard practices, it is scheduled, and then funds are made available, contractors are selected using the best practices, and I can assure you that in a NEWMAP project, no contractor can afford to abandon the site unless there is no funding, and if there is no funding, there must be something there. We don't just sit and wait for it. We go to site also.
Are the state governments involved in the funding arrangement?
They do counterpart funding.
Okay.
They do counterpart funding. There are many states that already paid their counterpart. And what the counterpart funding is meant to be is to address issues of project management, issues of compensation, if and when it is needed, issue of resettlements, whether it is necessary. These funds are channeled toward that, and the real money from the World Bank goes into the real project activities.
At the AMUZUKWU Gully Erosion site in Abia State, Southeast Nigeria, there is a NEWMAP project that has been ongoing for over 3 years and counting. But then what you are looking at is the level of work at a section of the site. No worker was on site when we visited the project, but then the residents of the affected community who are worried about not just the pace, but quality of work conducted us around to the frightening sections of the Gully Erosion site that are now even receiving any form of attention.
What are you saying? Are you satisfied with what is being done?
Master, 3 years ago, they started doing the job here. Really, we expected that something greater should have been done here by now. But to my surprise, since World Bank is doing it, that the job should have been done, by now. But they are just killing time.
Sad with the situation of things because of the poor activities going on. Since 1979, Obasanjo came here. Then we gave him reception. He gave money for it to be controlled. That money was invested by bad people having the community. Recently, they said they brought one map, or they came. I have not been happy with what they have been doing. They are not doing well. They came the other day, 2 weeks ago. They came here and survey the whole of this area. Said they will start work with this, but nothing has happened.
Do you know the company that is doing this?
They didn't tell us the name of the company. They gave say another company is coming. Another company, but they came and surveyed this area. We have been expecting the company to take over, but they have not.
This drainage, abandoned by the Nigerian Railway Corporation, the NRC, has been blamed for the worsening situation of the AMUZUKWU erosion site. The corporation is said to have started construction of the drainage in an attempt to stop the ravaging gully from sweeping away the rail track that is just meters away. We made our way up to the rail track where it was evident that despite the imminent threat to a major national infrastructure and asset, the federal and state governments for several years and decades did not do much or anything at all to stop the disaster that much more money has to be expended now to deal with. Like other development challenges in Abia State, we have given the state government under Governor Okeze Ikpeazu the opportunity to explain the knotty issues and the glaring allegations of corruption trailing the contract for the AMUZUKWU erosion site project. But the administration has not seen any reason to honor our request. The sign that everything is wrong about the AMUZUKWU Gully Erosion project site starts right from the project signboard that does not state who is the contractor, the client, the consultant or supervisor of the project, except perhaps what may be the project identification number that provides no information on the project. Our attempts to track the project got us on the trail of the Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project, NEWMAP itself, where it was shocking that on the website of the project, there is no information about the location of its head office in Abuja or any of its offices across the country. There is also no information about any contact numbers on which NEWMAP can be reached for any inquiry. We are on Aminu Kano Crescent in Wuse 2 district of Abuja, the nation's capital, where we've been able to trace the office of the Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project in NEWMAP. We were hoping that indeed the answers that we could not find to the many questions on the field there across the country where projects managed by this agency are in a way being undertaken, we were able to find those answers here in this office.
The states run the show. They implement the project. They assess the amount of work and they pay directly. So they will process the papers and request for funding to be paid to that contractor. That, of course, the money is domiciled with the World Bank, but we have what is known as client connection. So once you are about to pay, you send in a request for expenditure, which is cleared by the bank, and then the money is released to the state's account, the NEWMAP account, and once it is ready to be paid, it pays from that account to the contractor. The $500 million is the IDA loan. Then we have two grants. There is State Special Climate Change Fund. Is a grant. Okay? It's $4.63 million. Global Environment Facility, GEF, is 3.96 million. This is about 8 million or so, 8 point something million total. These are grants. Under this arrangement, the federal government or government of Nigeria is supposed to provide $150 million as counterpart funding. Of this, federal government will account for about 86 million, while the rest will be shared by participating states as counterpart funding. And so far, a number of states have contributed these counterpart funding, while some are still lagging behind. A state like Edo has so far provided nothing less than 1.5 billion naira as counterpart funding. Anambra has provided the range of 1 billion naira, not dollars. Federal government so far only 500 million. And we are still processing, discussing the possibility of getting this additional counterpart funding to meet the requirements of the project. You know, the World Bank is one of the most stingy institutions that you can think of. When we use the word stingy, is from the perspective of end users who believe that their money is always very difficult to cut away easily. So you must justify everything. So appropriate, all the necessary checks and balances have been put in place, and it is really absolutely impossible for any frivolous claim to have come into this way.
With the involvement of the World Bank in the NEWMAP intervention, there was so much hope. But then one thing is very clear, and that is with the way and manner the country is going about with execution of the 21 Gully Erosion control projects in 4 years, it is obvious that the hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of naira supposedly invested may be another waste of resources. This much the Federal Ministry of Environment that supervises NEWMAP is also apprehensive about how the project is gradually heading for total failure. And about 4 years into implementation of the project that has 8-year timeline of 2012 to 2020.
Well, I have a plan in a couple of weeks to visit these areas of our intervention. I've been to Enugu already, I've been to Anambra, and I'm planning a trip to ABIA and Ebonyi State to look at the project that we're handling there. I believe when I go there to see, we'll be able to address this issue. But I've seen what is in Anambra State because I've been there a couple of times, and I will continue to visit this because this is the only way to make the contractors know that you are really serious about what you're giving them to do and that you need to have value for your money.
For many, and rightly so, the tree planting campaign initiated in the 1930s and the Ecological Fund of 1981, and then the 2012 Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project, talking of the NEWMAP, have all not addressed what has become the Gully erosion crisis in the country in the last 87 years and counting. In a matter of months, Nigeria will have the Erosion Control and Prevention Commission, established by an act of the National Assembly, as yet another response of the country to the Gully erosion crisis threatening communities across the country. The big question is whether the bureaucracy will make the difference.
This is a resource we are wasting. This water that is costing a lot of gully that we are crying about, some countries are looking for the water. Just because we have in abundance, we don't know the value. But we can come together, harness the resources we have, and bring it, capture this water, turn it to whatever resource, tourism, agriculture, or aquaculture. We will, and we can have a better result.
Now, I'm even surprised that you have NEWMAP, and there is no geological survey is not part of their program. Because the custodian of erosion in Nigeria is geological survey. So that I was expecting, if they have a board on where decisions are taken about that, there must be somebody from geological survey, representing the Director General himself. Then he will give his own geological input into whatever they are doing. Then we can say, okay, water resources, because erosion you have to do, there must be somebody from water resources to give you an information on what that will be. Then when you now have a teamwork going, any remediation that has been made will stand the test of time.
all the options on how best to check the ravaging gullies across the country are on the table for the authorities in Nigeria to, for once, make the right decisions. It is obviously way beyond the tree planting campaigns and way beyond throwing money at erosion sites, which provides many the opportunity to feed fat on the country's resources at the expense of communities that can hardly see any future for themselves without the gullies in their areas brought under control. That's Straight Talk. Thanks to our partners, Media Dimensions, for their support. I am TYAV. And thanks to you for watching. And goodbye from Abuja.